Hi, this is Sergeant Beast Larson. Are you constantly aware or thinking planning for inmate distractions, suspect distraction techniques? Outside in the sun here, you can see the sun on my face, kind of squinting a little bit. Imagine you're in Georgia, down South Texas, 100 degrees. Out west, 100 plus degrees. What do suspect inmates do? They take advantage of the weather. Sweat's pouring down in your eye, you're constantly wiping your eye. Nope, they can attack you, they can run, passing notes to each other, in prison, stabbing, and assault takes place. You never know. But they think and they plan this. The criminals, the bad people, when you're dealing with them in uniform. Come over here to the shade, get the sun and everything out of my face. I worked a prison down in Georgia, remember? 100 plus degrees. Especially on the CERT team, you had that extra gear. They're always looking for the edge. The inmates were. Let's talk about another thing. You're delivering chow to the feed tray in isolation, for example. You have to open it, unlock it usually, open a little slot, and put your food in there. You got to pay attention what you're doing in the window and in the flap as well, but you don't see any of the other cells other than peripheral vision. The doors are locked. You don't know what's planning. So you get through 5 or 6 of these doors, 5 or 6 feedings, go to the 7th, the 8th, the 9th one. You're already in a groove. You're in a mindset because you're trying to get through the whole bottom floor and go upstairs. Then you have to go to the other side of the building and do that side. So inmates know where you have to go and what you have to do, and that you're kind of on a time constraint, and then you have to turn around and go and pick up all the trays. So while you're feeding, behind you, you hear somebody yelling. Down the hallway, you hear somebody yelling. And the inmate in there takes the tray, drops it, says, "You dropped it." Starts yelling and fussing. So he's yelling and fussing, and all of a sudden, they call it fishing down there in Georgia. Here comes lines, notes get thrown across on the upper while you're down on the lower deck. They start throwing stuff, getting to each other. So they're dropping the tray and yelling and screaming. It draws your total attention. Don't give 100% attention. Pay attention what's around you. And when you're feeding in isolation with doors like this, usually there's an orderly with you pushing the cart. So you've got an inmate by you. You're like this, watching him, her, if you're in a female place, and you're looking inside the feed. Distraction techniques. Let me talk about another one. Big distraction technique. We get a call of an inmate attempting to hang. Now he was in a dorm. He was down in C2 there in Hayes. He had climbed up the railing. The poles, the bars, went straight up. High enough that his feet were about 10 to 12 feet off the ground. That required officers like me. I was capable of climbing. About 5 or 6 of us climbing up. He's bed sheet around the neck, tied off. We have to lift him to get that down and deal with that. We couldn't just stand there and say, "Oh, he's up there, we can't do that." But while we're doing that, I was a sergeant. I instructed people, the other officers, to lock everybody down. But while he climbed up, and the attention and people on cameras and the control booth, they're focused on him. Officers running in are focused on him. Newer officers won't think lockdown of what's going on behind you. What kind of drug and weapon, what was going on behind us? Perfect distraction technique for a gang war to kick off, for a hit to be taken on an officer or on another inmate, attacks. Maybe they did that just for moving a bunch of food and grocery from cell to cell. You never know what's happening. They think about this. When I say they, I'm talking about the inmates, the criminals. They're always thinking about distraction techniques and what to do diversion-wise so they can accomplish what they want. For instance, in law enforcement, we always thought about experienced people, officers. We were taught and we thought, hey, we got over here, we got a crash. What if you get 3 car wrecks in the county, in the city, within 10 minutes of each other? That's kind of odd, unless there's bad weather. a nice sunny day like today is, 3 car wrecks within 10 minutes, we're thinking, bank's going to get robbed. Something big's about to happen because somebody's caused these minor distractions to tie up the officers. Think about the distractions going on. Now, this is 2024. The last 4 or 5 years, the police officers have dealt with ungodly amounts of looting, mobbing, stuff in stores, crazy things. So it brings a whole new meaning of distraction techniques to police on the outside. Behavior-wise, out of control, unaccountable. The generation thinks there's no accountability. Same thing goes in prison. Doing life without parole, it doesn't matter. This was 10 years ago and now the same thing. They're never getting out. They don't care. They will do anything. So they'll take any opportunity. What about a morning search by the warden, staff administration, walking through cells on the upper deck? Perfect time on the lower deck for things to happen. Inmates all come out. They stand in their dress uniforms. They're supposed to be full dress, state dress we called it, Monday through Thursday. Great time for things to get past. Everybody's lined up. All of a sudden you see the hand pass to the next hand, to the next hand, to the next hand. You get stuff going along unless you keep officers on upper and lower to pay attention and watch this. You get what I'm saying. One last thing, and this was a big thing for us at Hayes. You know, keeping dorms, you know, 1 dorm at a time, 2 dorms come in 2 different directions, fences in between so they can't meet. But you have dorm coming up to walk. Dorm officers leading them up to walk or following. Sometimes the CERT would go down, or a supervisor that was there and we called the octagon, the center of the fencing area. Best to have dorm officers follow, you know, or if you have one to lead and follow, but have your CERT or somebody to come down to meet and be the one up front to lead. You have to completely watch each inmate as they're coming up. You may have 60, you may have 75, 80. We always used it in Georgia at Hayes, single file hands behind your back. That way we were reducing the ability for them to have distraction techniques. Anything that would just, and we watched as a CERT or as a sergeant, watch that whole line. They're in a single file straight line. Easier to see somebody coming out, the noise, the movements, the head nod, anything like this. Somebody starts carrying on in the middle, be watching the front and the back, or vice versa. Big time. You're walking by chain link fences, little distraction, somebody reaches over, grabs, breaks off a piece of fence. They go up. We had metal detectors. They would go through that on their way up. Had them set up so we would potentially know, hopefully know, but not 100% metal detection success. They get up to there and all of a sudden here's a piece of chain link fence used as a poker. Watch their body language, watch their face, their head, their movements, shoulders, hands, feet, watch all that. And think if something's happening here, something else is happening over there. Because, you know, if you want a rumor started, tell one inmate, they'll tell everybody. If they're doing one thing, something else is going on. But don't think there's just one more thing going on. Think of multiple. Be safe. Keep your eyes open. Keep your hands empty, ready to block, ready to react. Hit the like, hit the share button. Don't forget to subscribe. Building on this channel, over 300 videos, a lot of self-defense and awareness kinds of things. Share with somebody. Tell somebody about this channel. Get one of your buddies to subscribe just like you. See you soon.